Ever since 1972, with the release of Pong, video games have been everywhere. Over the decades, the way video games have been played has been evolved countless times, from arcades to home consoles, PCs, and handheld devices, and everything else in between. But what's more important than where gaming started and where it's going is where you start with gaming. You know, that very first enemy you conquered, that first mission you completed, the first dungeon you crawled, the unfortunate first boss that made you question if this was really for you. It's those moments that stick with you over decades. By the way, those curious, my first gaming memory is being about 3 or 4 years old and taking on the dragonfly guy from Donkey Kong 64, whose name I learned today is Dogadon, which is kinda badass. So, what's the ideal first video game? And when I say that, I don't just mean for kids, I mean for everyone. I think we'd obviously struggle to find one singular video game, but we need to find a game that can engage children, that can engage adults, that can engage old people, young people, anyone in between, even if they've never played a video game before, all while at the same time representing video games as a whole. And I'm just now realizing the struggle of this. So first things first, we need to know what it needs to have to qualify. And I've broken it down into 3 fundamental things. First, it has to be playable alone. So battle royales, gone. Extraction shooters, gone. Pretty much every MMO, gone. I don't know why I said pretty much. Multiplayer is right there in the name. So yeah, all of them gone. We need to remember that it's our hypothetical person's very first video game ever. While it might work for some, we're really trying to instill a love of video games as a whole. Secondly, we're gonna need iconic characters. That means 99% of driving sims, you're out. Sports sims, you're out. Real people don't count. I think we understand that in a video game, a good character is enough at this point to prop up a billion-dollar franchise, or a few billion-dollar franchises. But to relate it back to our goal, a good character is just really easy to connect to, really easy to spend time with. You know, like they're the kind of thing that makes spending 8 hours playing a video game, hearing the same dialogue over and over, doable. And without that, you really struggle to get over that first initial barrier to entry in video games, which is whether or not they care. And for the third and final prerequisite, it's a little bit vague, but we need a generally interactable world. How the player affects the world around them is integral to video games as a medium. It is almost entirely unique to video games as a medium. Unfortunately for my heart, that means pretty much every fighting game out, pretty much every rhythm game out. Like, these games aren't bad, they're just not what we want right now. And as an addendum to the fact that you have to affect the world around you, it's not too far of a stretch to say that a story kind of has to come with that. So that's like a 3B on the requirements list. You don't really need that good of a story. You don't really need much of a story at all. Just a vague enough reason to be playing the game. So that's it. That's the 3.5 things that we need. Everything else is up for grab. I don't care about the genre, how long the game is, whether or not it's for kids, whether or not it's for adults. I couldn't care less. I don't care when it came out. I don't care if it's new. I don't care if it's old. Anything's good. AAA, indie, running on a calculator. I don't care. My initial thought was recency. If we're talking about right now, right, what is the most appropriate game to play to understand video games as they are right now, it would probably be a game that came out in the last few years. Look, we're pretty spoiled for choice. This generation has been responsible for some of the greatest games ever. Within years of each other, you have games like Cyberpunk 2077, Expedition 33, Elden Ring, all of these coming out within the same decade of each other. But there's really only one game that encapsulates everything a game can currently be. Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, hell, this game struck fear into its competitors. Video game publishers were literally saying this game shouldn't release in the state it's in. It's too good. They're gonna think that we have to make games this good and we can't. Now look, I don't think that was true in the end, but for some people maybe. And honestly, maybe it should have. In a time where every game is pulling off some sort of gimmick to make you spend time with it, Baldur's Gate just said, hey, you buy in, you get everything, and we respect your time. all the branching narratives, the iconic characters, the incredible world, a world that ripples through the choices that you make. And believe me when I say choices, because you can do almost anything and the game rewards you for it. You want to talk to that NPC, but as a druid who can shapeshift into animals, you have obviously turned yourself into a spider. They have interactions for that. You want to do what I did, and right before the pivotal moment in your romance arc with Shadowheart, apply a clown makeup that you didn't realize can't be removed, and then have it show up in the cutscene? You can do that. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. This game has absolutely everything you need to understand what gaming has been, what it can be, what it is right now, and more. But that really might be its biggest issue. The game has everything, maybe too much. You just decided to play a video game for the first time. You are probably not ready to take on the average 75 to 100 hours it takes to complete one run of this campaign. Like, is a young kid today really gonna do something like that when they've got the Dopamine Machine 3000 sitting right next to them playing Cocomelon? Probably not. So let's simplify just a little bit and go back to what was a lot of today's gamers, a lot of gamers in my generation's first gaming experience. 2001's Halo Combat Evolved. The sci-fi visuals, the easy to learn, hard to master gameplay, the simple yet gripping story of Halo CE is the perfect introduction into what is today one of the biggest genres in gaming, the first-person shooter. An easy breezy way to understand where shooters were and where they're going. The inspiration of games like GoldenEye and Doom, with the inspiration on games like Call of Duty and to a much further extent Destiny. These inform the player on what to expect from the past and the present, while the obvious pop culture influences like Aliens almost keep you connected to the game from the very start. Not to mention everyone's favorite self-insert, Master Chief. A character about as talkative as a broomstick, yet through his design and his relationship with his onboard AI Cortana, before being an onboard AI wasn't cool, the game almost forces you to invest in him. It also helps that Halo has multiple sequels, so if that first game hits for you, good news, there's a lot more of them. Clearly, I'm not the only one who thinks you should play this game, as Microsoft is dropping another remake of it July 28, which may or may not be before this video. I don't know, I'm lazy. All that to say, maybe shooters just aren't your thing. It's a bit graphic, the gameplay does come with a learning curve, I get that, so where to from here? Sometimes the answer is right in front of your face. New Super Mario Bros. Whether it be on the DS, Wii, Switch, whatever it can run on, whatever Nintendo can sell it on, it's the quintessential video game. Big bad guy stole the princess, you jump on heads, collect coins, power-ups, and eventually you fight the big bad guy and save the princess. There's nothing groundbreaking here, there's no deep moral quandary for you to unravel, but sometimes all you need is iconic characters, a vague motivation, and about 8 to 10 hours of fun. The Mario games are as successful and important as they are because they understand just that. They're not trying to be more than they are. They aren't trying to reinvent the wheel. And in that, they end up being a perfect representation of what a video game needs to be. No fat to be trimmed, a solid 10-hour experience that will not overstay its welcome. It may not boast the complexity of a game like Baldur's Gate 3, or carry the same weight and emotion of a game like Halo, but it doesn't need to, because it's fun. Simple as that. And also it has multi-mole, so yeah, 10 out of 10. Anyways, that's it for my thoughts on what the best first video game is. If you have any thoughts, let me know down below. What else am I supposed to say? Oh, subscribe? Subscribe.